Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ghostbusters 2016, also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call, directed by Paul Feig and starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and Chris Hemsworth. So I'm sure you guys aren't any strangers to the massive controversy that surrounded this movie when it came out in 2016. All sorts of different angry voices in the mix, which is usually the case with any sort of perceived controversy in pop culture. You have people who are just being straight up chauvinistic assholes. All female led Ghostbusters, boobs and vaginas, not my Ghostbusters. You have people who just thought that it didn't look so good and they were automatically labeled as, sexist themselves despite not saying anything sexist or chauvinistic. You had people who were defending the movie just because it was an all female led cast and, shaming people who just thought the movie didn't look good. You had all sorts of different things. A lot of people who reviewed the film got bashed for their opinions. It was a whole mess. I mean, what else is new? um, um, as for yours truly, when this came out, I honestly didn't really have that big of an interest in seeing it just because I wasn't big into Ghostbusters back then yet. It was honestly much later in life that I realized how much I appreciated the first two movies from the 80s and how much I appreciated that original cast. And reviewing the movies, for this series leading up to Frozen Empire, which comes out. What doesn't that come out next week? Yes, it does. Coming out, Frozen Empire coming out next week has made me realize just how cool I think these at least the first two movies are and how solid they are. And having said that, and having finally watched this movie, um the first thing to say is that it's definitely not worthy of all the fuss that it created. And usually with stuff like this, it never really is. That's the internet for you, and that's certain people on the internet for you willing to write like faux research papers, because I wouldn't really say that all of them are well researched papers on any given pop culture topic, because they have strong opinions. That's just the internet for you. Um, that being said, there is kind of a a problem that that kind of unfortunately dominated this entire movie that was very bothersome to me. And the problem is the humor. Ghostbusters was always a blend of horror, comedy, and action. And the humor here just isn't on par with the first two movies. And it even does that kind of annoying Adam Sandler thing where they tell the joke and then there's like a brief pause to make sure that you're laughing at it. And I don't know, the jokes just weren't doing it for me. That being said, I got some chuckles throughout the movie. I never, laughed hysterically and laughed hard, but there's some jokes that actually did land in this movie. So it's not without funny moments. And also, Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig are kind of wasted in this movie. They're supposed to be our two leads because they have kind of a friendship, then they have a falling out, then they get back together again when and form the Ghostbusters. And they're just kind of like playing it kind of like dry. And that was really disappointing to me. I'm going to put that on the writing because they're two comedy powerhouses. I've seen Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and other things being funny, being charismatic, being vibrant, but they're pretty stale here. I've especially seen Kristen Wiig on SNL be pretty funny, be very hilarious, and be charismatic, be a character. Um So I'm disappointed that they both of those characters, who are the two, again pretty much the two leads, were toned down here. But contrasting with them, Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon are the two people who make this movie. Almost every line they said had me dying, and I'm kind of rather ashamed to say that, especially with Leslie Jones, because I definitely got the feeling that she was directed to be the stereotypical loud black woman in some parts, and hate me all you want for saying that, because there have been times when I mentioned race on my channel, big shocker there, and I've gotten one or two nasty comments. Hey, I said what I said. But that being said, at least she bought some energy into the movie, and I laughed at it. I know it was kind of stereotypical in my opinion. She was kind of being the loud black woman in parts, but I found it funny, and it kind of carried it in part kind of carried the movie. But Kate McKinnon was definitely the scene stealer out of the four of them. She was my favorite in this movie. Loved her in this. So yeah, kind of half and half with like the Ghostbusters themselves. Two of them weren't doing it for me. They were just kind of there, but the other two, hell yeah. Also, just the story itself was kind of like, it really wasn't investing me like the first two first two movies. There's a lot of kind of like back and forth, like, oh, ghosts aren't real, we don't believe you. They are real, we have proof, we have proof. In the first Ghostbusters movie in '84, they kind of like got that whole, oh, ghosts aren't real thing out of the way right then and there. And the rest of the movie is just them kind of rising to fame as they go around the city catching ghosts. And I think I slightly prefer that to this whole back and forth, back and forth. I appreciate the effort though, because bear in mind, this is not set in the same continuity as the first two films. It's in its own universe, so I can understand and respect them trying to do something a little bit different. But it just wasn't sinking me in. I don't know what else to say, because there's so much of the movie devoted to these women are making this up. They're crazy. They're insane. It's like, okay, we get it already. Move on. But I again, points for effort, points for trying. What do they say? E for effort, because I get that you have to, you know, try and diverge a little bit, because you are setting this in its own continuity. This was meant to be serve as a reboot of the franchise. So okay, fine, but it just wasn't doing it for me. I don't know what else to say. However, with that being said, one thing that did work for me in this movie was the villain. I liked what they did with him. I liked kind of the them kind of deviating from the original two movies, kind of trying to do their own thing. The villain in this movie really did it for me. But it's a shame that he's not really the doesn't really play a big part in this movie, because again, so much of it is prove that ghosts exist. We got to get ourselves out there and show everybody that we're not crazy. So he doesn't really come in until the second half of the movie. But when he does, when his plight takes center stage, and when his plot takes center stage, and when it's about the Ghostbusters trying to stop this guy from doing what he wants to do, the movie actually does get really interesting for me. I liked his that villainous character, liked his performance as kind of this like little, just kind of this little creep. And I like what it was trying to do. And furthermore, I liked the climax and the final battle in this movie. It was really well done. I liked the imagery. I liked how the ghosts look, and I like how they've deviated just from the simple proton packs, and they've kind of expanded and elaborated on the weaponry that the Ghostbusters use in this movie. That was clever. That was really well done. And Chris Hemsworth, he, by all rights, I should say that he was a lazy character, because this whole thing is really, 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 really unbelievably dumb. And usually, just that alone doesn't work for me. Like, oh, I'm really stupid. But the way he plays it actually did kind of make me laugh a little bit in parts. So I'll give him half credit. And there's even something that's done with his character where he has to show a little bit more range. And when they did that, that was actually pretty cool. He killed it when he had to be more than what he originally was. I won't say too much here, of course, this is spoiler free, but I like that part of the movie. So, you know what, wrapping it up, I'm going to give Ghostbusters 2016, I was going to give it a 5 out of 10. I was kind of hasty to judge because I hate to say it, but I actually went on my Instagram story while watching the movie and I posted like, oh, I'm struggling to get through this. But the more the movie went on, like again, when they actually have to stop this villain, when they find out what he's trying to do, when it got to that, it picked up a little bit for me. It got a bit better, and like I said, I enjoyed the final fight. I enjoyed them using their different weapons. All of that was pretty good. So wrapping it up, I'm going to give Ghostbusters 2016 or Ghostbusters Answer the Call, whatever you prefer. Probably going to just call it Ghostbusters 2016 for this video. I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. Not terrible, not a train wreck, but mediocre humor and an uninteresting story that really doesn't kick in until pretty much the second half till the end. That's when things really get interesting, and that's when I was really engaged. Half of the of our quartet in this movie wasn't doing it for me. I don't know whether it was the writing or just Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig phoning it in. I'm going to blame the writing. They just weren't doing it for me, despite them obviously being written to be the principal characters that we're supposed to care about in the movie. They also kind of are supposed to be kind of the emotional core of the movie, but I just wasn't buying into their characters as much as Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon. They're the real Ghostbusters who carry this movie. So 5.5 out of 10 for Ghostbusters 2016. Yeah, at the end of the day, still pretty mediocre, but not terrible and not without its good parts. This has been another edition of Wade Watches, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.